Welcome back, everybody, to the Maitland April local here in Maitland, Florida. After 5 grueling rounds of Swiss and our top cut, we have found our 2 finalists, Landon.
Yeah, I mean, here we go. We got Riley Wilcox and we got Patrick Connors, two pretty big notable players in the local Florida scene. Both of them won their top 4 2-0.
And they're also from both sides of the bracket. Riley is our number 8 seed, upsetting our number 1 seed, Brendan Nasir, and then 2-0ing Andrew Navarro, as we just saw on the stream match. He just played that semifinal match absolutely flawless.
Oh, it's been amazing. And so now we're about to go into our finals with these 2 teams that we've seen on stream. We just saw Riley Wilcox and we saw Patrick Connors, his team, twice now. These are both great players. It's going to be great.
Now, selfishly, we do have to mention, by virtue of Patrick winning, we don't get to see the...
we do not get to see the Bronzong.
No Bronzong, no Okie Dokie, no Moltres Galar.
Oh, it had Moltres Galar, too?
It had Moltres Galar. It was one of the more unique teams that I've seen, but that's what happens at a local. You get to see Pokemon that you almost will never expect to see, and that's what makes it fun. You're not just
absolutely.
You're not just forced into the meta, so to speak. You're allowed to see things that you wouldn't normally experience, which is a really good benefit towards the local scene, because then not only are you having fun with Pokemon that you like, you get to hang out with your friends.
What is it that the Elite Four Karen said? A truly skilled trainer.
Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon. That is only the selfish perception of trainers. Truly skilled trainers should try to win with the ones they like best. I like your style. You know what's important. Go on, where's the champion is waiting. At least I think that's... I might...
All right, I was trying to say a word. I was like paraphrasing a bit, but you did like spot on. There you go.
I think I said her... Like, somebody can...
Her whole speech, probably.
Somebody can fact check me, but all we know is that when it comes to Karen, well... We just hope she doesn't speak to our manager. We just hope she doesn't speak to our manager. But if she does...
Or we just beat her in the champion, we become the manager.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one right there, Landon. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get into our finals matchup here. It is our number 2 seed, Patrick Connors, playing against our number 8 seed, Riley Wilcox. Patrick Connors in top cut, Landon, has not dropped a single game.
Neither has Riley.
Ooh, neither has Riley. Ooh, that's a good one, too. So this is actually, again, one of our finalists are guaranteed to take a game loss.
Yeah, it's crazy. One of them are about to lose their first game this top cut.
That is something that you almost never expect to see at any point in time. But as we were talking with our finalists just now during the break, we found out a very interesting point about our number 2 seed, Patrick Connors. He has a good amount of championship points, and the winner of this Premier Challenge will get 30, while the runner-up will get 16. Not a terrible dip
Not at all.
in championship points. I mean, you make finals. That's good enough.
Absolutely.
Apparently, according to Patrick Connors, he has not gotten any points with Incineroar until this local.
Really?
He has not gotten a single championship. In fact, he actively said, I don't like using Incineroar.
That's insane. Not saying you don't like using Incineroar. One of the top Pokemon in the form, like one of the top Pokemon we have in the format, like Fluttermane, Urshifu, Incineroar. Like, come on, that's insane.
But see, the thing is, though, is that let's say he wins this local with that Incineroar. I think we have to petition to get a partner Pokemon distribution of Patrick's Incineroar.
Patrick's first Incineroar.
Yeah, just have that. Just have
I
that
think it's interesting. I never pointed this out until just now, but I noticed it earlier. I think it's interesting that Patrick's Incineroar has safety goggles and Terra Grass.
Oh, that's actually
like that's like something I didn't notice the first time.
I didn't notice that either. But that actually plays into both sides. It doesn't mean that he is forced to Terra into Terra Grass.
Yep.
But if he wants to, it helps out.
Yep.
Now, but against a team like Riley Wilcox's, I'm not so sure that Terra Grass is going to be helpful unless the Landorus and the Tornadus are gone. Because Landorus has that Sludge Bomb, Tornadus has the Bleakwind Storm, and technically even if he Terras into Terra Grass, that Incineroar on Riley's side will suddenly be super effective against Patrick's Incineroar.
Yep, I mean, Incineroar is like, it's been a really good Pokemon this entire tournament, honestly. I mean, same as Amoonguss, and both of these players have both Incineroar and Amoonguss, two of the biggest MVPs in this tournament, because the fact that, like, they're the two. I would argue they're the two best support Pokemon of all time.
I would agree with that too. And also, they both have an Urshifu Rapid Strike holding a Choice Scarf with the Water Terra type.
Yep.
And their Amoongus's are Regenerator, Rocky Helmet, Terra Fairy.
Yeah, I mean, great players think alike. There's a reason this got so far, and it's because it works so well.
Exactly. You, like Karen said, truly skilled trainers should try to win with the Pokemon they love best. And right now, Riley is definitely winning with the Pokemon he loves best.
He loves Amoonguss.
Patrick, on the other hand, again, he did say he's using Incineroar.
And he doesn't like Incineroar.
He does not like Incineroar.
But he has always said he loves Chien-Pao and Urshifu Rapid Strike, which doesn't fit in with the rest of how his team is built. But it still has worked for him phenomenally.
It has, and we're about to get into game number 1 here of our finals. Patrick Connors, Riley Wilcox, will it be our number 2 seed or our number 8 seed that end up winning this battle? We're going to get into game number 1 right now, ladies and gentlemen, and this is going to be awesome as we see Riley leading with Incineroar and Urshifu versus the Blood Moon Ursaluna and the Farigiraf. That is a change-up. We haven't seen Riley lead that.
Definitely an adjustment that I wouldn't have expected myself, but an interesting one nonetheless.
So now we got something on Riley's side. Patrick making a little bit of a change-up here that we haven't usually seen. But with the Farigiraf and the Blood Moon Ursaluna here, now we have to remember, Blood Moon Ursaluna, it is a normal type, so even if it terrestrializes into the Terra Normal to remove the water type weakness, it doesn't remove the fighting type weakness.
It does not remove the fighting type weakness, and so that's something that's really needs to be taken into consideration here. But
we see Farigiraf getting switched out here.
Patrick is not at all nervous about this post-combat or surging strikes. He's just keeping in his... Oh, what's Riley doing?
Riley is activating the Terra Orb into his Urshifu, making it a water type, and really showing the mastery of the water element.
Yep. Is it going to go into that Farigiraf slot? If it does, then that's a lot of Rocky Helmet damage going onto that Urshifu.
But we do see the Terra Orb was activated on Patrick Connor's side also, and the Ursaluna Blood Moon is now a pure normal type. Funnily enough, both Pokemon with
Surging Strikes is coming out. Is it onto the Amoonguss?
No, it's into the Ursaluna. But look at that damage. Even though it is not super effective, it is still doing major damage on that Ursaluna.
So much damage to that Ursaluna. So what does this Incineroar go for? A parting shot
into the Amoonguss.
Oh! Wow.
That is something. That is definitely something there, ladies and gentlemen. The Amoonguss gets parting shotted. But now, whatever Riley's bringing in the back, he is bringing in Inoki, which is his own Amoonguss.
His own Amoonguss. That is something to take into consideration. The Hyper Voice coming out. How much damage is this going to do?
Oh my! Big damage. But now the Urshifu, it's locked into that Choice Scarf on the Surging Strikes. And Patrick has that Amoonguss on the field. He can just go for a Rage Powder into the Amoonguss, which will redirect the Urshifu. However,
it will not redirect that Amoonguss.
Now, here's a very interesting point, Landon, because I didn't want to say this. Patrick, I believe, has his Amoonguss just faster than his Ursaluna. So
I think you're right about that too. He was showing me his team in the middle of the matches because he. I was asking him questions about it, and he was more than happy to show me how his team was trained.
We do see the Surging Strikes off the Rage Powder, and it does enough to knock out the Urshifu in one shot off the Rocky Helmet damage. So that's just something that's crazy right there. But it was a good play on Patrick, getting rid of a big threat in that Urshifu Rapid Strike on Riley's side.
Massive threat on Riley's side, getting rid of that Urshifu. So now, Patrick doesn't have Trick Room up, but his Ursaluna Blood Moon it's going crazy.
We see Raging Bolt come out on the side of Riley. But here's the more important part here, ladies and gentlemen. By having that Rage Powder, Ursaluna could potentially go for a Hyper Voice, and the Raging Bolt will have to take a move into Amoonguss here unless it goes for something like a Snarl, which would be really damaging towards Patrick's Ursaluna, because Ursaluna does not want to take any damage from its special attacking
we see a
side.
switch from Riley, switching the Amoonguss into the Incineroar, and that's going to be taking some Hyper Voice damage.
We do see Amoonguss opting for the Rage Powder here, once again redirecting any attack into its slot. Raging Bolt opting for the Dragon Pulse.
Ooh, the Dragon Pulse. That's not going to be too helpful in Riley's case. So the Hyper Voice is going to do a lot of damage.
Just under 50% for the Incineroar, and that was Life Orb boosted.
That was Life Orb boosted. Both of those Pokemon are very much trained in their special defense, as you can probably tell by how well they did.
We do see Amoonguss being switched out here to get that Regenerator ability off and regain some very important health, because on Riley's side, that Amoonguss, it does have the Rocky Helmet, it does not have a Citrus Berry.
Having the Rocky Helmet is you know, it's definitely important when facing an Urshifu, but the Urshifu is already down, and so
we see a switch out on the side of Farigiraf here. So it was a double switch out, but a Raging Bolt going for the Snarl. It's super effective by virtue of that Psychic type on Farigiraf, and Farigiraf's special attack just got lowered.
Yes, it did, and that's gonna end up being very consequential to that Farigiraf. The Flare Blitz not doing much damage against the now switched in Incineroar, and now Riley's Recoil procced the Citrus Berry.
So now Incineroar on both sides. They are very healthy Incineroars, but now it remains to be seen, because there is the potential of that Trick Room here, but I don't think it would work out well for Patrick if he goes for Trick Room with Raging Bolt in the back still.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it looks like Patrick is taking that into consideration and thinking of taking out that Raging Bolt.
As we do see Riley switching out his Incineroar and bringing Amoonguss back in onto the field.
Helping Hand onto the Incineroar. What is this Incineroar going to do?
We see a Thunderbolt from Riley into the Incineroar here. No
paralysis like earlier today.
But wow, that was an intimidated Helping Hand knockoff, and it almost took out Raging Bolt.
Yeah, it did, and Raging Bolt is known to be a very bulky Pokemon, so that's a damage.
That really did a lot of damage there, but and also by virtue of Farigiraf being on the field, Riley can't go for a Thunderclap into that Incineroar, which would knock it out.
Yep, that's true, and it's like, this is definitely a game for both of these players right now. Like, neither of them are out of it, but neither of them are really locked into a win right now.
You see a Dragon Pulse come out into the Incineroar slot, knocking out Incineroar. I think that was a good play on Riley's side, take out that Incineroar. Meanwhile, Raging Bolt will go down to the Dazzling Gleam, but what did Riley click with Amoonguss? Because if he clicked Pollen Puff, that might be a problem.
That's true.
And it was Pollen Puff into his teammate, and it failed.
That's definitely a problem. Now we have the Ursaluna about to come in with the Incineroar. So this Incineroar is in a very interesting situation. So this Incineroar can try and knock off on the Farigiraf to try and take it out as fast as possible. Yeah, the Incineroar can try and knock off onto the Farigiraf to try and get rid of it, so that, you know, Trick Room goes up. But you got to worry about the Amoonguss in the back.
You always have to worry about Amoonguss in the back if it's on your opponent's team. As we do see Patrick switch out the Farigiraf into the Amoonguss here, and Ursaluna going for a Protect. But it does also remain to be seen, as we do see a knockoff. It was knocking off into the Blood Moon Ursaluna here.
Yep.
If there was a Flare Blitz plus a Pollen Puff, that would have been crazy.
That would have been very crazy.
And Riley opted for a Spore into the for Regidra's slot, but because of the Spore, it did not work because of the grass-type immunity to Spore.
Yep. So now we're yet again in an interesting situation because both players are just having very big tools on the field, but those tools are in dangerous spots.
They really are in dangerous spots, Landon, because that Amoonguss, it'll go down to a Flare Blitz, and then it all comes down to whether or not Riley's Amoonguss is faster than that Ursaluna, because I think Pollen Puff might be enough to knock it out.
It very well might be.
You see a Flare Blitz come out on the side of Riley. Will it do enough? It doesn't do enough! However, the Rage Power, but the burn! Oh
so
my!
So there's going to be recoil and Rocky Helmet damage.
And we do see a Blood Moon come out.
So this Ursaluna is faster than the Amoonguss, and it's going to take out the Incineroar.
That is a big play by Patrick, just going for the Blood Moon into the Incineroar, taking it out. Now, by going for the Rage Powder,
Pollen Puff on the side, Pollen Puff not going to do anything.
It's not going to work. Riley was baited twice by the side Pollen Puff, and he was unsuccessful both times. And now this Ursaluna Blood Moon is in prime position to just clean up the game.
Pretty much. And, the side Pollen Puff coming from the Amoonguss to, so it's important to note that, yeah, like we said before, Patrick's Amoonguss is faster than his Ursaluna so that it can support it just the best way it can.
And as we just saw, it went for the Life Orb Hyper Voice there and takes out that Amoonguss because now Hyper Voice was a single target attack. So Patrick Connors, our number 2 seed, has just given Riley Wilcox, our 8 seed, his first game loss of this top cut.
Yeah, having that first game loss of this top cut is just very, very important for Riley moving forward because he knows his team is not unbeatable in this top cut. Not at all.
It is not unbeatable, and it's a full Blood Moon for Patrick. Just that it really just shows you how powerful Blood Moon Ursaluna has been since its inception in the Teal Mask DLC.
Yep, and it's such a strong Pokemon in Trick Room, but Trick Room didn't go up this game. I just want to point that out. It didn't go up at all.
The threat was there. The threat of Trick Room was there, but the fact that Patrick respected Riley enough to where he did not click Trick Room at all. He didn't even give Riley a chance at thinking, you know what, maybe there's a Trick Room coming up here. I'm going to take a risk on this. Didn't even give it a second thought, and that is really impressive from Patrick, that he respects his opponent well enough to not use a strategy that off the open team sheet you can just figure out right off the bat.
And now we're going into this game 2. Will Patrick use Trick Room this game, or will he just play a bunch of mind games with Riley again?
Or will Riley be able to force a game number 3 in this finals?
That's true, and we'll just see what happens. And it looks like Riley's starting with the same leads.
It's a lead synergy. We have Amoonguss and Urshifu Rapid Strike on both sides, and they are both the same, a Choice Scarf variant and Rocky Helmet Terra Fairy Amoonguss.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
This is one that you don't usually anticipate to see. The question is, are both of these Urshifus going to go for a U-turn potentially?
It doesn't look like Patrick locked into a U-turn. It looks like he locked into a Surging Strikes, maybe anticipating the U-turn with something else switching in.
That could be a possibility. As you do see Amoonguss switching out on the side of Riley. This is very interesting as he brings in Elgato, the Incineroar, to lower the physical attack of that Urshifu Rapid Strike.
Yep, this Urshifu is going to be doing as much damage as it can as Patrick is now terrestrializing his Urshifu
into a Terra Water. And he has activated the Terra Water here. If this if this Urshifu went for something like a Surging Strikes, and it did, what slot did he pick? He picked the Urshifu Rapid Strike.
That for maybe anticipating a switch onto there with the Incineroar, but it just didn't happen that way. And so what is this Incineroar going to go for? It's going to go for its own Surging Strike back onto the other Urshifu.
That's actually a really big play for both sides. Both Urshifus go for the Surging Strikes, but this Amoonguss, I think it went for Spore.
I do think it went for Spore onto that Urshifu, and if it did,
It did.
yep.
And Urshifu now has to take a guaranteed turn of sleep. But meanwhile, on Patrick's side, that is Urshifu, unless Incineroar switches back into something like an Amoonguss, then this Surging Strike is going to take out that Incineroar in one hit.
Yeah, I mean, what a turn for Patrick right now. It's like he got a good amount of damage off, and like not an amazing amount of damage, but he got a solid amount for sure.
As you
So
see him
now-
switch out on the Urshifu, back into the Amoonguss slot here, potentially trying to scout out that Surging Strikes. And we do see Riley opt for the Terra on his own side of the field. His Incineroar is bathed in crystals and is the Terra Ghost.
So I'm imagining that it definitely didn't go for a fake out onto the Urshifu, at least in this case, because of the fact that it went for the Terra Ghost to now not resist those Surging Strikes, but be neutral at least.
We do see a critical hit, guaranteed 3 times, brings Incineroar into its Citrus Berry range here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, lucky crit.
A little bit of a lucky crit,
A
but
little bit of a lucky crit, of course.
it
Dude, again? Another lucky crit?
What
In the finals?
What is going on with
In
this
the
move?
finals? That's insane.
And we see a knockoff come out doing big damage onto the Amoonguss and removing the Rocky helmet.
That's so important for Riley to remove that Rocky helmet, potentially making it an easier matchup for the Urshifu in the back if that comes to that endgame.
But we do see that by virtue of the Rocky helmet coming off, this Incineroar is in a really good position here.
Incineroar is in a pretty solid position, like, you know, taking that off that Rocky helmet, and now it's Terra Ghost. Still resisting those Surging Strikes, but if it did get hit by Surging Strikes now, it would definitely be taken out. But it's Incineroar is the best. Still surprised that Patrick hasn't used Incineroar yet.
But everything is going to be changing up here because the Incineroar has made an appearance for Patrick in this finals.
Yep, that's definitely important for Patrick right now because Incineroar is very good, and ooh, the Rage Powder going to be attracting those Surging Strikes to get that Rocky helmet damage onto that Urshifu.
And it's not doing much damage on the Amoonguss. However, it is just taking damage. It's going to take a big amount of its HP just from these 3 guaranteed hits, and that's why some people like Single Strike over Rapid Strike, because Single Strike only gets 1 Rocky helmet damage.
True.
Surging Strikes gets 3.
But that might also be why both Riley Wilcox and Patrick Connors have Terra Fairy on their Pokemon, on their Amoonguy, because of the fact that it's also resistant against those Single Strike Urshifus if need be.
We do see Riley opting for the parting shot here and sending in Arlong. That is the Urshifu, which is asleep right now and still has to take 1 guaranteed turn.
Still does have to take 1 guaranteed turn to sleep, and that's definitely important, especially considering that Patrick's Urshifu is actually faster than Riley's.
That is something also we did notice that in this game, that
Yep.
Patrick's Urshifu is faster than Riley's because they are both Choice Scarves, so it literally could come down to maybe even a speed tie, potentially.
Oh, the Raging Bolt is coming out from Riley, possibly to resist that Flare Blitz. Here we see a Surging Strikes onto the other Urshifu.
And it's taken 3 guaranteed hits here, but Urshifu will have to take a turn of sleep. However, this Raging Bolt coming in, it threatens that Urshifu with a Thunderclap, potentially.
It does. It does definitely threaten that Thunderclap, and that Thunderclap could do pretty decent amount of damage to Urshifu.
Depending on how much investment is in Urshifu, Thunderclap might actually even knock out this.
Oh, look at the Urshifu's health. Yeah, that Thunderclap's knocking it out. That Thunderclap could definitely knock it out.
That's definitely a possibility here. So just having that threat, that is big. But Riley's Urshifu just took a guaranteed turn of sleep. If he wakes up here and goes for a Surging Strikes, that could be massive for Riley.
Could be so massive for Riley, considering the fact that
We do see a Thunderclap come out on the side of Raging Bolt, and it fails. But the
Urshifu
Urshifu stays asleep.
That's so important for Patrick right now. It's going to be so helpful because now he can just take out Urshifu.
That was a big play for Riley. He was trying to hope that his Urshifu woke up a little bit early from its hibernation, but
Yeah, and it's just like...
unfortunately, hibernation did not want to stay around.
Now Riley has 3 Pokemon that it looks like Patrick might be comfortable going against. With even just with his Incineroar, like all 3 of Riley's Pokemon are like in solid matchups for Patrick's Incineroar.
I think you're right there because this Raging Bolt and the Incineroar, I think they're probably going to think that the Amoonguss is a bigger threat, might try to double up on that.
Yep.
And that would be a good play, but it might also be a negative play. We do see Dragon Pulse. That's one move that's effective. And we see a parting shot into the Amoonguss slot here. That is really interesting.
That is really interesting. And now we're going to see what Patrick did to this, what it's going to be an Amoonguss that got a Regenerator bonus. So it's, it's going to have mostly full health. But Knockoff will take off that Rocky helmet, so now no more will Urshifu's Surging Strikes have to struggle against it.
But a Spore coming out on the side of Riley Raging Bolt, so Raging Bolt is now taking a nap.
Now, Raging Bolt going to sleep is definitely super important for Patrick right now, because with Raging Bolt asleep, that's just... Patrick's just in a solid spot.
Patrick is just playing this board incredible. Riley opting to try to protect his Amoonguss for this turn. The opposing Raging Bolt stays asleep. It takes its one guaranteed turn. Incineroar going for that knockoff and removing the Assault Vest. That is big.
That's big, because now the Sludge Bomb is going to do more damage. Still not much.
Still not much, but it did a lot more than it would have done without it.
Damage is damage. So now we're going to see how much this Incineroar's Flare Blitz is going to do this Amoonguss.
It doesn't do enough to knock it out, but gets a burn. The 10% burn chance on the Amoonguss, which really doesn't matter all that much.
And
However,
Sludge Bomb, is that going to take the KO? Yes, it will.
It is. The Amoonguss goes down, and now it's a Raging Bolt that's asleep, and an Incineroar that is Terror Ghost versus an Amoonguss, an Incineroar, and a Choice Scarf Rapid Strike Urshifu.
Choice Scarf Urshifu is much more comfortable than it was before. Because even if this Amoonguss is off the field, Incineroar is just able to knock off away on the Raging Bolt, and Patrick hasn't even revealed his fourth Pokemon.
But we did just see that Incineroar on Riley's side went for the fake out into the Incineroar to prevent a parting shot. But now both of Riley's Pokemon are asleep, and this Amoonguss can just go for a side Pollen Puff potentially.
Yeah, I can definitely go for that. But the Raging Bolt wakes up, goes for a Dragon Pulse onto the Amoonguss, and how much damage is it going to do?
It's not enough. And the Incineroar on Riley's side takes a guaranteed turn of sleep. This Incineroar is going for the parting shot, lowering that Raging Bolt's special attack by 1 stage.
Yeah, lowering that special attack is very important for Patrick right now, because the fact that Raging Bolt is probably like the biggest piece on Riley's field. So, like, in this end game where it can't get rid of those special attack drops, it just looks like it's over, especially considering now we have Chien-Pao on the field.
We do have Chien-Pao on the field here, and Riley is in a very big hole, but I think who knows, he might be able to come back from it, Landon.
I mean, yeah, there's always an opportunity.
We do see Amoonguss switch out to get that Regenerator health back, and in its stead comes the Incineroar to get that Intimidate off, which is really big for Patrick's side.
Having that Intimidate off is so important, and that Sucker Punch is going to take out the Raging Bolt, and so now it really just looks like Riley has lost this game because it's 1 against 4.
And the Incineroar stays asleep again.
Sucker Punch and Knockoff are both super effective moves, not even going for the knockoff.
One more turn of sleep is not enough. The sucker punch coming out, and Riley Wilcox will fall 2-0. Patrick Connors is your Maitland, Florida Cool Stuff Games April Premier Challenge champion.
Great job with Patrick. He played amazingly. I believe this is his first time using Blood Moon at a local at the very least, and it's his first time using Incineroar, which is crazy to me.
And he gets
the win.
He gets the win. He gets 30 CP with Incineroar.
I mean, I'm just saying. This just proves how good Incineroar is if he doesn't use Incineroar. If he doesn't even like using Incineroar, and he still wins the tournament with it. And that Incineroar, it did a lot for him.
It did a lot for him. Just getting those parting shots off, those knockoffs at the right time. The Flare Blitz, even though it was into an Amoonguss, he still gets the burn on Amoonguss. That's something you don't usually see.
I mean, yeah, the burn didn't matter in the end, but it was kind of hype. It was kind of hype, let's be honest.
It was pretty hype. And also, I mean, hats off to Patrick. He did not drop a single game in Top Cut.
Not a single game in Top Cut, and that is insane. Makes sense that he won the whole thing because he just played so well, played amazingly, had several different modes he used. Sometimes he would use Blood Moon. Other times he showed that he didn't even need it to get a win.
No, he didn't. He didn't even need Trick Room in either game.
Didn't need Trick Room at all.
Just the threat of having Trick Room, Riley respected it enough to where he tried to play around it, and unfortunately it just wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough at all. And so good on Patrick for that play because, I mean, he won. It's like
you won with Incineroar.
You won with Incineroar.
You now know how Incineroar is, and now you are required to use it for the remainder of the season. Well,
I'm not gonna force him to do that.
Well, maybe not that.
Maybe not that, man. But yeah,
maybe not that. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, our main event, outside of our main event, being Patrick Connors winning the Maitland, Florida Cool Stuff Games Premier Challenge. We're going to have an Exhibition Regulation G matchup, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back with that.